Thank you to Opera for supporting PBS. You know it's cringe, but you just can't help it. You see a baby and automatically start talking like a buffoon.
Little baby, how are you, little Jack?
Oh, little Davy, peekaboo, peekaboo.
Many people call this baby talk, but it's not to be confused with the nonsensical goo-goo gaga sounds babies make. It's also been called motherese or parentese, and for many years, child psychologists discouraged the practice, warning parents that it could slow language development and teach bad speech habits. Are you learning bad speech habits? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But that perspective has changed thanks to a number of linguistic, neurological, and cultural studies into what is scientifically known as infant-directed speech. By looking into the minds of both babies and adults, some fascinating discoveries have been made about how it impacts language acquisition, what its evolutionary roots might be, and even why we do it with our dogs. I'm Dr. Erica Brozovsky, and this is Otherwords.
Otherwords.
No two people baby talk in the exact same way, but there are some common features. Speech rate slows down with more pauses between words. Pitch tends to be higher with more variation. Vowels are often exaggerated. Grammar becomes simplified and words get repeated, specifically nouns and verbs. And the behavior is more or less involuntary. Nobody decides to baby talk, it just kind of happens. Like a lot of linguistic phenomena, when something occurs instinctively, there tends to be a lot going on under the hood. And infant-directed speech is no exception. Studies have found that a high-pitched voice will grab and hold babies' attention better than a lower-pitched one. In fact, they seem to prefer voices that are around the same frequency of their own vocal tracts, a preference that doesn't develop until they are old enough to make sounds of their own. It's almost like adults are doing an imitation of the infant, and the infant likes it. There's also an emotional element. Smooth, high-pitched speech signifies friendliness and vulnerability. This association is so deep that it crosses the boundaries between species. Humans can correctly identify the emotions behind a wide variety of animal noises, from pigs to alligators. This may be why our dogs and cats tend to also like baby talk, and why romantic partners will use it with each other. In fact, research shows that couples that do it tend to have stronger, healthier relationships. Once the speaker has the baby's trust and attention, the other elements of IDS impart valuable linguistic information. A slower tempo allows the infant to grasp the rhythm and intonation patterns of the language, known as prosody. Exaggerated vowels may also highlight the differences between phonemes. Repetition encourages the retention of key words. And despite the fear that it could teach bad speech habits, baby talk almost never employs incorrect grammar or pronunciations. Various studies have shown that IDS improves or accelerates certain language skills in young children, like vocabulary, sound differentiation, and word boundary perception. One interesting benefit is the dilution of babies' preference for trochaic words. There seems to be a natural inclination in infants to pay special attention to words with a stressed, unstressed rhythm, like bottle, mama, and baby, perhaps because they sound like their mother's heartbeat. Bubum, bubum. But IDS helps them also focus on the more difficult iambic words like believe, guitar, and collect. But if baby talk is meant to help infants learn to speak, why would we use it with our cats and dogs?
Yes, you're a good girl. You're a good girl. You're so wild.
You stay just the way you are, because you are a perfect man, and I'm gonna take you home and get you something to eat. Little lumpy dum-dums won't have his daddy to give him washy scrubby.
Well, we don't. Not exactly. Studies show that pets really do prefer the high register and fluctuating pitch of baby talk, and repetition of key words can help them learn vocabulary like walk and bone. Do you want to walk? Do you want to go for a walk? A walk? Let's go for a walk. However, pet-directed speech tends to omit those features of IDS associated with speech production, like exaggerated vowels and prosody, and it's more likely to incorporate incorrect pronunciation and grammar. That's why my little baby bear can't have cheeseburger. By the mid-2000s, the majority of linguists and child psychologists agreed that baby talk is beneficial for language development. But a different stigma remained. that instead of it being a universal human trait, IDS was in fact a quirk of Western industrialized nations, a luxury of privileged white parents with plenty of free time and obsession with academic performance. It is true that the vast majority of 20th century research into IDS focused on so-called weird countries, Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. And several researchers claim to have found cultures that either don't use infant-directed speech or don't speak directly to their infants at all, like the Tsimane of Bolivia, the Yucatec Maya, and the Kaluli of Papua New Guinea. But in 2022, the Harvard Music Lab visited dozens of diverse communities around the globe and recorded adults interacting with children.
¿Qué le pasó a Milena? ¿Qué le pasó, mamachita?
Ushki hamushe, Bartush. Oh.
It's okay, Caitlin. You're okay, Caitlin.
After analyzing hundreds of hours of audio, they concluded that in every single culture they surveyed, from Beijing to South Sudan, whether urban or rural, industrialized or hunter-gatherer, adults did use a special form of speech when addressing infants, which shared a lot of the characteristics of what we call baby talk. To drive the point home, the researchers created an online game called Who's Listening that asked people to listen to audio recordings and guess whether the speech was directed to an adult or a baby. Even though the participants had no familiarity with the languages or cultures they were listening to, they were able to guess correctly 70% of the time. In recent years, some linguists have questioned whether the cultures that supposedly did not use child-directed speech were simply using it in ways that were misunderstood by Western researchers. In some cases, child-directed speech was performed by older siblings rather than parents. In others, a high infant mortality rate may have led parents to delay baby talk a bit so as not to get too attached too early. And in the case of the Kaluli, parents use a high-pitched voice to speak for the infants rather than to them, like, "I'm hungry," or "I don't like that," guiding them on how they should speak in certain situations. Assuming now that baby talk is indeed instinctive and universal, researchers sought to find its evolutionary origins by studying groups of our closest living relatives, great apes. Surprisingly, they found virtually no trace of baby talk. Adult apes, from gorillas to orangutans to bonobos, rarely, if ever, communicate directly with their young. Since humans are the only species with language, this led them to believe that baby talk specifically evolved to aid in language acquisition. If it served some other emotional or social purpose, you'd expect to see some early version of it in other nonverbal primates. That doesn't mean it doesn't serve an emotional or social purpose today. The process of guiding babies into the wonderful world of language is emotionally rewarding for adults and children alike. Our brains release oxytocin, which promotes bonding and makes us feel happy. And let's not forget the enormous social benefit of being able to laugh at how people talk to their dogs. Thank you to Opera for supporting PBS. The Opera browser equips users with different features to navigate complex topics. If you're looking to compare multiple papers online at once, Opera's split screen feature lets you choose from vertical, horizontal, or grid layouts. When you drag your tabs downward, Opera splits the screen up to 4 resizable ways. For research that requires a lot of tabs, Opera's tab islands can help keep your tabs organized and visible. With tab islands, you can group your tabs based on theme, project, or context. Just hover over the island and you can name them and coordinate them by color. And if you're the type to keep 30 or more tabs open while going down a research rabbit hole, Tab Traces lets you track your most recently used tabs with a subtle visual underscore. And their video pop-out gives users control over how to watch videos. Simply detach the video you're watching and move it beyond the browser. No extra apps or windows are needed. Check out the link in the description to try out all the features of the Opera browser.
Johnny, are you a good boy? Do you like it? What do you think, Johnny? Tilt your head the other way. There we go. Oh my goodness.
Go for a walk? Okay.
Do you want to sit? Oh, does he want to go for a walk? What do you like that? What you like?